Well, welcome everyone. We got our third set review here. Joining me today is Musical. I would say you're not really too new to the community, but did you join the scene this year?
That's right. I joined around the beginning of August.
Okay, well, yeah, that is pretty new actually, at least compared to a lot of the active players here. So, one of our new players joining the community that has grown quite a lot. So I'm curious, when did you start playing the panel series just in general? Was it something you played when you were younger?
Yes, it was something that I was exposed to as a kid with seeing some of my family members playing Tetris Attack, but our family didn't have a SNES. So when Pokemon Puzzle League came around as a kid, I definitely wanted to play that. So I begged my parents to get it, and that's kind of like my experience during my formative years playing panel. And most of my experience was like playing through the one player modes, and then if I were to ever play against other people in Pokemon Puzzle League or Tetris Attack, it would usually be on like level 1. I never knew about the skill ceiling looked like until I found the server. I did do a few like YouTube searches here and there for like tournaments, and I saw them on level 8. I actually saw your name along with FFR Pro. Like those were like to me, oh, like these are amazing players, kind of thing. And playing on level 8, and I was so excited to see matches like that. And then I was even more blown away when I found the server.
Yeah, it is crazy just on a couple years how those old matches look like what could be considered, I'd say, like gold or platinum play now, and those were like the finals of the big tournaments happening those years. It's
Yeah.
it's really cool to see how everything's grown. So I gotta ask, as a fellow Pokemon Puzzle League lover myself, because that's what I grew up on. What's your favorite of the two? Do you like Pokemon Puzzle League more since that's the one you got to play more, or are you still loyal to Tetris Attack?
Pokemon Puzzle League is where I'm at for sure. Like it's funny, despite Tetris Attack being like my first exposure to the series from like family members, I think because Pokemon Puzzle League was the first game that I got to own and play, I definitely have like attached more like sentimental value to it. And especially when I was able to find the Pokemon Puzzle League mods, that gave me like the biggest hit of nostalgia. It felt so good to be able to like play with those characters and having those themes being played uh, with no lag. It's amazing.
That too good. I'll have to add another to the Pokemon Puzzle League club. We're slightly behind on the Tetris Attack love that's out there, but we're good to have you in our arsenal. Tay in chat says, funny enough, your voice sounds a lot to him. He's a speedrunner in the community that's playing the game a lot. And it's funny because
Uh,
his game's also Pokemon Puzzle League, so you guys might be the same person there, for all we know.
cool.
All right, but anyways, let's preview a little bit of your skill in terms of panel attack right now. In like the past month or so, what ranks have you been hovering around? You've been like high plat, low diamond as far as I know.
Yeah, so the highest I got to from like playing ranked matches and a few of like ranking people in was somewhere around the 1690s. Uh, and then famously, I played against you in ranked without checking to make sure that only panel was running. And then I was wondering like why are my inputs like not happening when they're supposed to? It's like it felt like really like sluggish. And then I saw like from the corner of my eye, Discord was open, and then everything made sense. It was so sad. I was like, okay, at least I know why it happened. But it's unfortunate that I wasn't able to like play, uh, you know, at a level representative of what I felt like I was capable of at the time. So right now I'm around like the 1650s.
It's pretty fair. And based on what I've seen you play before and what we're going to be seeing later now, if people aren't familiar with the panel attack ranking system, the rankings are very fickle and in which you can lose and gain elo in the blink of an eye sometimes. So it's pretty common for people to bounce around even like 100 to 200 points sometimes. So I definitely think Musical here is someone who can play at that lower diamond level, and which I think that's what we're going to be seeing a lot today. But we'll see what we can find to get him there permanently at the end. But yeah, right before we get into this, what do you think? What do you think you excel at right now, gameplay wise? Do you think you consider yourself more aggressive, defensive? Do you like prioritizing combo storm factory or a hybrid of both, or you kind of freestyle it? Like, what's your general game plan going into a match?
My game plan was to be as flexible as possible, and as I'm learning like new skills, trying to integrate those into my gameplay to be even more flexible. So what I mean by that was like being able to switch between going for heavier chains to combo storms where I feel like it might work. So for example, like during my openers, uh, let's say maybe like a few weeks ago, I was struggling to kind of close out games where I could have done so earlier, if because like the openers were more composed of combo garbage, and it only took a few clears from my opponent to really like be done with it, and then they can continue their offense with a full fresh board of panels. On my end, I had so much like chain garbage so that I had to kind of work my way through really slowly. So trying to work on that instinct to like switch between heavier chains to combo storms. And more recently, I've been trying to train myself to do like some factory setups where I'm like sending three chains with like combo garbage interlaced like in between. So like that's something that I'm trying to work on, like overall flexibility. Another thing that I've been trying to work on specifically was dealing with a chaotic board full of fresh panels, because there have been so many times where I found myself just completely uh, like just stop dead in my tracks, deer in headlights, don't know where to go because everything's moving all at once, or like there's a bunch of combos, clears, or chains happening all at once, and I can't like predict where everything is going. So I've been taking time to like consciously find my way, like slowly, like navigating my way through that fresh board. Uh, One thing that I've been good with in general was being like you taking like that 3 second countdown at the beginning to have an idea of where I even want to start my opener, and figure out what the sequence of like swaps I need to do that. And then once things start, like I would try to sort of quote unquote simultaneously raise and start uh, doing those few swaps right away, just to kind of like save time and like do in a way two things at once. I think that would be kind of like and also using like my peripheral vision to try to find other things to move to once current combos or chains are finished resolving. That's kind of like what I think I'm strong at in a nutshell.
Very concise there. Thanks for putting it that way. And honestly, that sounds like a lot of things that I struggled with when trying to get better and still continue to struggle with today. But it's cool that you realize and you're testing out a lot of stuff right now, and I gotta credit you and say that's probably a big reason why you have been climbing and performing pretty well in tournaments right now. So yeah, just really good awareness, and I'm glad that you're looking out for things like that. Hmm.
Yeah.
So basically, I mean, that's all the preamble I have right now. We can start looking at our sets, which we have two separate ones that we're looking at today. The first one we're going to be taking a look at is you versus Ty, and we got some timestamps marked for that. And I think the main one you wanted to look at was you versus Decrates.
That's right. Because yeah, that one, the second set is like a little bit more recent, and I feel like I did a lot better as well, like overall. So the one with Ty, I'm just like time stamping some of the longer games, wins and losses, just to like have a better uh, feel of a longer game.
Perfect. All right, we're gonna set this up to get this started very soon. Uh, I will apologize on my end for people who are unaware watching this later. This should have happened probably like a week and a half ago, but due to delays on my end, nothing on Musical's part, I've had to push this back 2 times now. So apologies in advance for that. And I also don't have the VOD up for the second one that I did like 2 weeks ago as well. And hopefully that'll be up on YouTube soon. But Yeah, here we go. Pretty recent games for the most part too. Musical versus Ty here. For those who don't know Ty, he has been a staple in the scene for many years now. I think joining back in either 2018 or 2019. And Ty notable for being like one of the best placers in tournaments for his elo. Like he's made several upsets in past brackets, including most recent one being versus Yoshimitsu, who was like the champ of panel for a while and has been finishing second and third in a lot of tournaments this year. So Ty definitely still a very relevant threat uh, to this day in the panel scene. So all right, let's see what you got against him right now. We're gonna go to game 5, which is at 3:04. Can you see everything still happening? The mouse and
Yeah,
whatnot
I
on
can
the
see it.
screen. Perfect. All right, let's hop into this. Get it a little bit before here. So Ty starting off with a 4-0, and I gotta mention when you are playing some casual or ranked sets, the atmosphere is a lot different. It might take some people time to warm up to. That's a big thing that I have noticed for a lot of people. But yeah,
Right.
pretty good chain here at the beginning. You're gonna be seeing. I feel like there's always like a mix of how people play at this elo, and it's just how comfortable you feel with your attacks here at the beginning. But you sent 2 big chains here at the beginning, which I love to see, with some combos weaved in. And now this puts you at a good advantage here, because if you can keep applying the pressure, especially at this level, and you kind of mix it up, it becomes really hard for players to find that response to you afterward. And so
Right.
you've dictated the pace, and it looks like you're doing a pretty good job of like following up with this. Ty is struggling. He can't really find too much to assault back to you. This is what Ty does pretty good though, because I think his defense has improved a lot here, and I think you're doing a good job. Just keep following it up with it. I do like playing with this mid stack, playing a little bit more safe when they do get some garbage, so it gives you, a little bit of time to react here. Quick to find that 5 chain, or 5 combo rather. And now you just have like a bunch of this combo garbage that was waiting that's going to be falling on Ty's end. Pretty much looking like a standard panel match right now. Very good plays from both sides. There's not much you can say about this one, but pretty well done.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, you can only point out like small little critiques here. Like
Yep.
these blues, maybe you could have waited and dropped that left side so that way you
That was
got
exactly
easier.
it.
But I mean, you're quick enough to react to this, and you know the position you're playing at where you're not harassed too much. So honestly, doing that is not even a bad thing, because it's all about like perspective at the end of the day. If you know that you're doing well with your garbage and you're not really harassed that much, it's okay to do things like that, especially if you are trying to buy time and scan some more clear. So I mean, pretty much a very well executed game, and it looks like that's probably the game that turns some momentum later on here, because it was 0-4 at the beginning here, seeing you warm up.
Right.
So let's hop into 13:49 now, hopping all the way to game 17. Yeah, bringing it back all the way to 7-9 now. It's crazy how the momentum shift can happen a lot in panel matches. I've seen people down like 10-0 at the beginning of sets, and like they play first to 20 and it ends at like 20-18 or something like
It's
that.
so crazy. I've experienced like that momentum shift like from both positions.
Okay, scary spot here. Burning a lot of clears. But once again, if you do notice your opponent's taking a little bit of time to send that attack, in which case Ty was sending a bigger chain, totally fine. Taking your time there. I didn't pay attention too much of the metrics of the last game. What does your APM hover around 350 to 400, or what do you notice generally?
I'd say about there. It was only very recently that I've been starting to break the 400s, and now like I don't know if it's because of like some form of like nerves or just me being used to playing at this level on 10 and wanting to execute certain maneuvers. But I'm definitely seeing a higher average speed or like APM, like around like sometimes like low 400s, like maybe like 420 ish.
All right, let's take a look at this sequence because I think you did a really good job here. So it looks like nothing happening up top. You can like organize a couple of these panels up here and kind of line them up here. If you do, I feel like having them vertically aligned can maybe line up some potential clears in the future. But since you are
Right. This
dealing
one,
with two lines already being cleared, it's kind of hard to have the time
yeah,
to
I actually
multitask.
that was going through my head specifically because there was two rows. I took a glance, but I opted not to go up there to actually do anything because I wanted to be able to address the lower tier before the second row of garbage had finished its like popping animation.
I really like what you did here though, because I think some people might get into the trap of like immediately if you're in this position, the average player might not know what to do here because there's nothing going to immediately clear, and they might try to like right after they get this green to downstack, they might try to continue to downstack or try to get the greens at the right. But you went for this dark blue clear here at the middle, which was super good, which allows you to clear these blues later. And you had the Shogun set up with the reds, buying
Yep.
yourself just enough time here.
That swap with the green was like super lucky. Like I was like, please, like swap.
You got great second tier analysis, though. That's what I've been noticing. Buying yourself just enough time. This is a really good play here. You could say it's maybe a little early, but in fact, I like it. I like clearing it a little bit early right here, especially if you notice your reds. Because depending if you have no shake time or not as well, if you're trying to get this green clear just a little bit later to actually clear that bottom, there's a chance you just swap it a little late and die. But I like the
Yep.
way you did it here, which it's going to buy you some time, and then go down to these reds here.
Yep.
You got the yellows lined up. Can do some down stacking.
That was unfortunate. That was supposed to be like a 4 to clear the next layer, and then it was like I had a lot of. I was definitely panicking. Some of the notes here was like miss swaps and double swaps, and like that panicking screwed that like reaction to make a +4.
Yeah, this was just like you think this was a miss swap, or you were just trying to down stack as fast as possible here?
That yellow was off to the left was supposed to make a +4 on the right rather than
Oh,
pulling
okay.
down.
So you just missed that swap there at the
Yeah,
left.
that's why it was so painful. I was like, why did it like that swap didn't happen, and then all that happened was like the light blue or cyan was pulled to an empty spot.
I mean, there's only so much you can do when you get into situations like this, because after a miss swap occurs, there's like you got to think almost instantly to do it. The only thing I could recommend here after this potentially happens, because you're getting topped off, uh, it can be a natural tendency to kind of just go for clears, in which case you went for these reds over here at the left to just try to buy more time. Sometimes if I'm able to see it, I'll look at this red here at the top after you clear and maybe try to make a chain with an insert down here, because that 2 chain is going to buy you just slightly more time than burning a bunch of clears. And maybe while you do that, you have time to think about your next move, which could be eventually these dark blues will line up too. You can have these purples eventually line up here. I mean, it's such a little thing here because, like I said, panic situations, it's so hard to like try to bounce back when your plans just got ruined. Like, it was just so free too. Yeah, I know that feeling. But maybe if you can visualize like going for a chain here, or seeing if you can make a chain out of a clear rather than just doing a bunch of individual clears instead, and it'll just buy you that little bit more time to react. Because if you just had maybe that 1 second longer, maybe you had enough time to get these dark blues in. You can downstack this green and get to the purples too.
Right. There were so many options that like I was kind of torn because I was committing to like one option and then yet without me noticing another option had opened up, but I was too like tunnel vision into committing to one that I just completely missed the other until it's too late. And it's like, and then it's always this kind of like me playing catch up with this in this panic state. Like I saw like the red chain late, and then I saw the purple four combo on the left late as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I keep reacting to them, that's where all those like panic swaps come out. I was like, it was I couldn't get myself to commit and also like uh, be flexible enough to move in a timely manner, I guess, like without having that kind of like frenetic movement mess with the actual execution to get something like started.
Yeah, it's really tough too. I think it's pretty easy to get tunnel visioned on things like that. I've told people always the weird thing I like to describe this game. It's better for you to turn your brain off when you're playing at these high levels, because the second you think a little bit too much about your moves, then you just end up stopping and not making it clear. And it's better to, in your case, you were doing the right thing. It was just a little bit unfortunate, but like just telling yourself, keep going, keep going. Make sure you have outs and everything like that.
Right.
And yeah, just a little bit unfortunate there at the end. Still plenty of options, but that'll happen to the best of us there. Game 26 we're looking at now, I think 22:55. Or a little bit before this. This is currently game
Oh,
26.
game 26 is 12:55.
12:55? That might have been a
Yeah.
typo, because that's before 13:49.
Oh, did I mess that up?
But I'm on game 26 right now, so we're good. It
Okay,
looks
yeah, you're fine.
it looks like it was supposed to be
Oh, 21:55.
155. Oh, okay. First numbers were backwards. We're good. We're good. Also, what's up, Linyeto and Fudo? Happy to see you both in chat. So nice little combo start here at the beginning. It's hard to see what your biggest flaw is right now, because I think you have pretty good awareness at doing a lot of important things in the game. Like I noticed a lot of panel rearranging in second tier. You've been putting a good balance of combos, like already almost a minute into this match. 2 5s, 2 6s, and an 8 combo that's dropped. Your chains aren't bigger than a 5. Not sure if Ty is topped off yet. We'll see when this drops. Okay, so we're going to be looking at your vantage to where you're the one behind at the beginning here.
Right.
Very good play. Honestly, if you find yourself struggling, for any other players out there watching this at this high level, take your time. Make sure you had a nice field of panels like Musichael did there. And then just, you can rip off a big chain, because you're going to have still plenty of panels left. Give yourself time, because if you can feel that flow to just keep doing things like that, then all of a sudden it's going to give, a lot of clear time to your opponent, but at least it's going to buy yourself a lot more time to start sending things. In which, in this case, it gave Musichael a lot of time, and now Ty is going to be topped off for a while. He's still got to deal with a little bit of that shake, but... Alright. This top spot part's going to be really scary. Okay.
Yeah, like if I didn't miss that green combo off to the right a few seconds earlier by like If I just waited,
Ah, okay, okay.
I wouldn't have been in a situation where I had to rely on the topmost row, like the next immediate row of fresh panels with no stop time. I was like, please, now I have to react, right? And it was too late.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, a little bit unfortunate with that clear, as you mentioned, with the greens on the right there. I guess that's just a little bit of a analysis. There's always like some color conflicts. And were you trying to make a 4 combo here, or did you perhaps just not notice that this green was down here at the bottom?
I feel like I wanted to make the 4, but either it was like me just panicking because there wasn't much, like there was only 3 rows of panels to pop for that garbage, and I might have just over swapped just one, but it was one too many. I don't think like it was like me neglecting like that clear, or sorry, neglecting like what was up top before going for a clear. If that makes sense.
Gotcha. All right. The only thing I can recommend here, because this is such a scary spot, only 2 rows are clearing here. If you manage to escape here, you got this 4 combo, which if a 4 combo is at the bottom of the garbage stack, it's just one of the worst things to deal with. Because if it drops down and like your right stacks up, it's just awful. But yeah, right after this clear, you can play the reaction game, which can be a little bit tough here. The one thing maybe I would have gone for in general is you do have 3 yellows. You can drop this yellow down and pop those as soon as this garbage block clears here, so it will buy you a little bit of time. Because I do like having these clears to buy myself more time in case like the colors aren't there to make a chain, or in this case it was just a little bit too slow to react. Because chances are, if you are able to, get this yellow down, which I think you have plenty of time for, make the vertical clear in the leftmost column, you're probably going to
Yeah,
have the greens or the purples line up, which will let you extend it. So that's the one thing
that's
I
definitely.
can suggest there is if you do get into reaction chances like that, still see what you have on your field and if it's possible to make it clear. Sometimes that won't be the case and you just do have to react and try to get it. But if you have a clear that's possible, look at your field. If you see 3 or more on there, even with the low stack, see if you can make that work to buy you that little bit more time.
Right. Like actually it's good that you mentioned that, because like looking back on this game now, because it's been a while since I've like seen like that, like this particular set. Uh it's something that I have started been implementing. It's like using like even 3 clears to just give me like some kind of thinking time.
Mm-hmm.
Like in this kind of situation where like at least it gives me a chance to see the next row without being punished too heavily. It may not be a lot, but it's still time nonetheless. But me at this time, I definitely did not think like that. I definitely like I hadn't even considered, because like I guess I was in my own head like thinking burning another 3 panels with a stack that low was like really dangerous. So I didn't really consider like the possible advantage of buying myself some extra time.
Gotcha. So do you think it's pretty much like panic situations? Like we haven't seen the second set obviously, but do you find yourself in a lot of panic spots and you feel like that's maybe what causes a majority of deaths for your games?
I'd say so. Like it would often be like once I find myself in a panic situation, I start thinking, okay, there's a chance that I can lose because like I may not be performing maneuvers at the level of execution that needs to happen, or I might react too slowly because of the panic. That's where I find myself like in that kind of like mindset where, oh, okay, things are looking dicey, or I might die here because I'm not prepared for something, and then and the panic kind of ensues.
Gotcha. Yeah, those are some of the toughest situations to deal with, and I'll be thinking about that a little bit going forward here, because that might be the biggest problem I see so far in these sets. Because your general mechanics of the game are very very good. Like you're finding shoguns easier than I would probably half the time. I just now started finding those like a few months ago, I would say.
Uh, that's something that I actually like. I saw out of the like panel attack servers like resources. like when I was looking at how to improve like defense, and shoguns and transition fears were both things that popped out to me. And so I started like teaching myself and like practicing like looking out for them right from the get-go, and I think it's definitely helping.
Yeah, I can tell. You just have a really good blend. Like just looking at the stats, I'm trying to glance over every once in a while. Your speed's fine. Obviously, there are people who are way faster, but at this rank, the 350 to 400 range is usually going to be enough. Like if you're playing smart, you got enough time to react and play to things. But you're mixing in like this game, literally only that 4 chain just came out and was your highest chain, but it was threes and lowers, plenty of 5, 6s, a 7, and an 8 all mixed in there.
Right.
I mean, 7 not the best combo, obviously, but it's
Yeah.
the point is it's showing that your eyes are open. Like if you see your combo distribution sheet that varied, you're usually open to more possible ways to find it, because like you'll see some people just spam 4s all the time, and it's usually just the same pattern that they're going for over and over again, going for vertical 4s or something like that. So I gotta say, I do like this. And I mean, not much to say on this one here. You're doing a good job here, doing some down stacking. It could have maybe been scary after this because you had the reds, but maybe they like don't line up after these dark blues clean up. But
Yeah,
I
I got
think
a little worried because of the two towers.
the separated pillars, I always hate dealing with those. I've taken so many like deaths, not only deaths, but like 10 or 15 seconds in that have been able to kill me. But I think you were probably, if this match didn't end, I think you were fine in doing it. So I mean, I don't have much to say there. You did pretty good survival. The garbage spread, doing 6s and 5s. 5s technically have the lower shake, but 6s are easier to find, and I have no problem sending 6s because with the difference in shake time, it is very minimal, especially compared to 7s, which do a lot more. So for people, I always recommend 6s are very good.
Right.
Your combos you want to go for the most, or the most beneficial ones, are definitely 5s, 6s, and 9s. Those are the sweet spots. 9s are pretty hard to find. 8s are good
Yeah.
too, because you will get the 5 combos that are linked in. And of course, 4 combos and the little 4 combo and the 8 combo are fine. Sometimes, if you have too many of them queued up, they drop really weird on your opponent and can waste even more time. But 4s are still very good if you weave them in properly, because they make those um, situations like I mentioned earlier where your stack can separate. Always recommend you won't see it too much in this game because of how the garbage priority works, but if you take a
Right.
look at a Pokemon Puzzle League speedrun and how they cheese the AIs in that with the 4 combos dropping down, it can actually be a viable strat if you can somehow make it work in this game, but it is really tough. You're just in general looking good to spam those 5s and 6s. But
Okay.
yeah, for general play, this isn't for you, Musical, but for general people, don't be too reliant if you're not good at finding these combos, because your opponent can easily just clear them all at once and you might be behind on garbage after that. I really like what you're doing here with this hybrid setup, which is kind of the way I play too, where plenty of 3 chains, setting up factories here and there, and getting some combo storm when you can too. So I mean, nothing but good stuff about that game there.
Awesome. I try like as a side note, like in my openers, to usually go for like some form of combo chain, because like that's when I have so much time, like free time, to think about it and plan it out.
Yeah, you're putting a lot of work in, and that makes me happy to see, and it makes so much sense. That I think I've already mentioned this, but why you've been growing so much right now, and that's really like you can just like grind away and get better at this game because it's worked for several people. But I've noticed a lot of improvements for some people who have been strictly taking notes and figuring out specifically what they need to work on. Because I was someone like that too, who kind of just strictly played the game over and over. And I mentioned this in the Newsy and James set reveal last time, to where this year I started actually practicing specific things about my game and taking it more seriously, and it's resulted in like longer overall matches, higher placements in tournaments, and it's felt a lot good here.
Cool.
Ooh. That was a very good transition. I just want to highlight this for everyone else here because this was very high stack. Was this supposed to be a? Oh yeah, that was supposed to be a slide. So miss slide here in the combo storm. Not much time to react. Has the blues right there, notices them. And from the get-go, after you notice these blues, it's clear after clear. Nothing ever stops. No downtime. You eventually find this 5 combo to get this pillar down, which I always stress to players too, is that pillars are just really hard to deal with. And if you're able to prioritize clears on the left and right side to get those down, because generally when you're naturally making clears, it's easier for you to make clears generally in the middle. So that's why those pillars do form. But yeah, that was beautiful execution to where Tide just got overwhelmed here at the end. And look, you had plenty of panels still on your board here at the end making clears. I mean, another just well executed game here.
Cool.
It looks like I mean, as the set's going on, you're warming up a lot more here. The score's still playing pretty even with Ty right now. Do you feel like you're a person who needs a lot of warm-up time before you do good into it, or do you get more nervous as sets go on?
It's very strange for me. Like sometimes there will be days where like I can go right in cold and it feels like I've been warming up for like half an hour, an hour. And then there are times where I could be warming up a lot. And then I just completely fizzle out, and it feels like my hands are like cold all of a sudden, and I'm like reacting very slowly. It's very fickle with me, and I haven't really been able to kind of pin down what's like the sweet spot, if there is any, for myself. So it's definitely something that I guess like if it's, I don't know, maybe almost like philosophical, something to work on, like how to like get to that state of mind and like execution level.
It's tough. I know a lot of people, specifically with tournament nerves. I know a lot of people have had trouble with transitioning to playing tournament who like perform really, really well in casual and ranked matches and then kind of just crumble. And it can be like that. Like some days you're just not playing good at all. That's totally understandable. Some days you're feeling it. Something goes wrong and all of a sudden your mental's just cracked. Some days you feel like you might not be playing well at all, and all of a sudden you're overperforming. I've had those days too. This game's pretty weird in that regards.
The intermediate tournament this past month, like in November, was a really good example of that. Like I was playing, like my gameplay in that tournament felt much worse than what I had been doing leading up to it. So I definitely detected that kind of underperformance.
What the heck was this, man? This was sick. I got the swap right at the end there. Beautiful.
That was really
Sorry, I had to interrupt. Anytime I see something beautiful on the screen, I gotta admire it. But yeah. It wasn't your first intermediate, but you've joined in a few now, I think, right? At least
that was actually my first intermediate.
Okay, but you joined the did you join the Airwalkers tournament? Is that what I'm thinking of?
Yeah, so the first one tournament that I joined was actually the Panel Tech Major, which happened to use the intermediate rule set, and then following that was Airwalkers.
Gotcha. I'm gonna take a brief pause in this because I wanna. Well, I guess I could just ask you, do you remember your placements in each of those 3 tournaments? I can easily look it up if you don't remember.
I just remembered that I played roughly to or at my seeding for each of them. So if you see like my like seeding, you'll know like roughly where I placed.
Okay.
But for the intermediate tournament, I placed 3rd.
That's right. You did pretty good in that one. All right. You had... Let's see if I can find you on here. There you go. Okay, so you played Epic Yoshi the first round and actually beat him. Then had to run into Yoshi. That's just a unfortunate draw there. And then you had to play Galaxy on the next one, which he got underseeded actually that tournament.
That would explain how that
he's a pretty good player. And sometimes that happens with like elo and things like that, because some TOs base it on elo strictly, which is totally fine, but it can make for some interesting things. But this was your first tournament, and running into those two guys and still getting a win on Epic Yoshi is pretty good. And then Airwalkers. I want to forget this tournament. I sucked at that one.
Honestly, like I kind of share the sentiment partially because Epic Yoshi got to get his revenge against
Oh,
me.
I see it. Yes. Okay. So,
But that was the first tournament like that I took. I don't know if it was luck or just me playing the game well enough. I was able to take one game off of Arisu.
oh, nice.
I
Yeah,
was really surprised at that, and I was like half popping off. I was
that's
so excited.
no easy feat whatsoever. And you had third seed for intermediate and lived up to that seeding as well. So you've kind of been like wherever you are seated. You're right. You've been placing at that. Wins over who did you beat? Light Rider? You beat Wasser in the first, or no, it's my bad. I'm looking at the wrong one. Beat Derek. Beat Light Rider, lost to Dylon and FKZ, who got first and second. Beat Fudu, who's on the rise right now pretty handily, and then you beat Mew in that loser semifinals. All right, so
Yeah,
yeah,
during the warm up, I saw Dylon. He was playing amazing. Like he was definitely playing above average, like from what I've seen from our sets. And we had been going into the intermediate tournament like with our sets fairly even too.
I mentioned some people play better in certain conditions. Like some people might play worse during tournament. I think players like Dylon and Ryan are the opposite, who play better during tournament. Which is why if I'm ever seeding them, usually they're a lower elo than most people, but I put them up above people because they just win more matches in tournament.
Right. It's very fair.
But yeah, I mean, it's cool to see that it looks like you are playing at your level during tournament. So it might not be an issue of nerves at all, but just finding out what's happening in these just little situations, which this was an awkward one. I think it looks like you were locked up here at the top, which is very common. And since it was like these yellows, hold on, let me make sure. Yeah, it was possible, but very awkward, and it's really hard to react to that.
Yeah. One big problem for me was completely neglecting the lower portion of my stack during that time.
Yes.
I was so fixated on trying to get it clear because I knew, my board is so full, but I completely just didn't drop down and see, well, what else can I do there to buy time?
Let's see if we can look at something leading up to this point too, because yeah, being fixated on a certain part of your board is always a big thing here. So at this point, you have what? You have your clears lined up already. A couple lines left to go here, and you're kind of already relaxing. I don't think there's too much you can do here in terms of fixing your board, because you're already peering at the top to see what you can do, it looks like, but maybe stopped a little bit too early. So your two options could be here, which you probably already know this in the first place. 3 rows of second tier up here, so you got the option of as soon as this falls, yellow can clear up here. I would say swap some of the stuff down here, but there's like no immediate clears. You could like go to drop this down and get a yellow to line up too before this dropped into place, but I think that was just going to ruin a lot of situations. But yeah, I guess just in general, like trying after this point when things are clearing, I know you're trying to live and survive here, but I guess there are like one swap for the yellow, one swap for the green to like try to buy you some time. But it is very tough at this point in time for situations like this.
Yeah.
You know what? I think since we're like pretty much already 30 minutes into this, I know we have 2 timestamps, but we can move on to the other set now if you want.
Okay, yeah, I'm down.
Let's do that. I want to hide the display capture just for a second on screen here while we switch over. There we go. All right, now we have set number 2 with Musichael here going against Decrates, who is not as old of a member as Ty, but I think Decrates has been participating in tournaments at least since early 2021, maybe even late 2020. I'm not too sure the exact metric on that because I took a hiatus from the Discord from about, I think, late 2019 to basically all of 2020. So I missed a lot of this like new Wave Diamond players that came in, and Decrates was definitely one of those players alongside like Mado and Ilhark, who was very present at that time, and a bunch of others too that are still playing to this day. But yeah, Decrates, he is known for combo storm offense. He is really big on the combo storm. So this is gonna test your reactions and whatnot in this set, which it'll be very exciting to see. It's someone who I always struggle playing against. Any specific time segments here? Or are we just going into it?
I don't have any specific times, but I do have notes for a good number of them.
Okay, cool. So yeah, anytime if you feel free to yell at me if there's something that you want to look at, we can feel free to do it. But yeah, I'm excited for this because I think Ty and Decrates are two very different players, and it really tests your ability to adapt because there is a general strategy for the general audience of panel here that there's a game plan that you want to do and you kind of just do it, but at this level there are ways you can adapt to certain play styles. Like for instance, playing against Mado right now is someone who I struggle with a lot just by the way he plays. But then Mado might lose against someone like GCT who's able to deal with that annoying pressure and just live. But then GCT plays someone like me who just kind of throws whatever and can also live from his pressure. So it's kind of a triangle that's got going on right there, I believe. So yeah, people play different because you'll have people who focus on combo storm or just a factory here or a combination of both, and you got to adjust to that.
Okay, so this is a good place to like talk about. So like early on in this game, like I was very aggressive while under pressure because I saw a tier 2 clear that would clear top garbage. So when I had like only a few rows of panels, I still burned them all because I knew that I can maximize counter like my counter attacking. So like right here with that, I intentionally left that 4 chain 6 combo there because I had a second tier clear.
That is very good. I like that decision. Something I'll point out on the side here too after I look at this a little bit more. Yeah, totally the okay call. And even at that point, after you do that clear, you could, in theory, even leave this green clear at the bottom because you have plenty of panels here in the middle. And you could build a chain that falls and just clears both of these at the same time to like give you a little bit more delay. That's an option, but kind of like just a side thing that's necessary. Uh,
Right.
Out of curiosity, have you seen any of the other set reviews that I have done?
I've watched your Fudu versus Kitty uh, set review, and I've also like just lurked in chat while watching. I guess the latter portion of Newsy versus Jambox.
Gotcha. I want to look at the specific scenario that's happening right here. Do you did you see the thing that I pointed out given a situation that's kind of like this to where you have one big chain garbage block and a bunch of separated garbage here at the top? To where
Um,
in this situation, you have the 6 lined up here, which I think you do just opt to go for. If I notice my opponent's just kind of doing this combo spam right now, I might slow this down because you have 2 lines of garbage, so there is a chance in your case it did happen with that uh 3 in a row here on the top row to clear. But if
right.
you slow down your clear just a little bit in this instance, if someone sends like any kind of garbage at all in case of the 6 combo coming now, 6 combo pops up at the top here, you do the clear, and all of a sudden you have vertical 3 garbage that's going to be up here and a much greater chance that a clear pops up in the second row. So it's
Um,
something I like to notice when there is 2 rows of garbage that is up here. unless they're sending a big chain and you gotta wait forever, it's not a
Yeah.
bad idea to just wait it out just for a second to wait for one more garbage to fall, because then it just, what, I don't know, it's probably like a 16% chance that you get a clear, maybe a little bit higher. We'll just round it up to, let's just say 20. That sounds right. A 20%
Right.
chance to get a clear to pop up here. Whereas if you get 3 up here instead, I bet that like shoots up to like 60 or 70% chance instead.
Okay.
So that's
That makes a
something
lot.
I've been doing a lot recently, if I have the time, because it's always situational. If you're like really close to dying, or you don't have like too many panels, in this case, I don't blame you for ripping it here, because you want to try to get more and more panels to build back up to Decrities. But something to think about in the future, if you ever see disconnected garbage like this before ripping it, wait for a third line to pop up top here. Gives you pretty good odds to find that clear to do in second tier. Otherwise, if
Okay.
you get unlucky and there's 2 rows of panels here with no clears immediately, it could lead to an awkward situation down the road.
Okay. Yeah, that's useful. I did not consider that. Because like yeah, like you said, like pretty much whatever like comes down, that first row will also, in
Mm-hmm.
addition to those 2 rows, be cleared and reveal new panels.
Yeah, it's a neat little thing that even I mess up all the time still, because it's easier to like say something to do in this game than actually execute it, because as you know, level 10 is not nice and you have to be doing things immediately, so it's really it's really hard
It's
to
so true.
execute perfectly. I figure we'll take a look here at the beginning for most of this as we get into it a little bit. I'll try to keep it playing for the most part, but if it's something specific I haven't mentioned, I'll try to pause it and talk about it.
Sure.
But yeah, we'll look at the beginning of the set and the end of the set, and anything else that we can think of at that point we'll talk about. But I gotta say, like, I mean, your fundamentals, I've mentioned it before, are just really on point, and that's what I like to see. And someone who's already mastered a lot of these techniques, I think it's only good stuff for you going forward for your growth for this game, if you are very motivated to get better, which it looks like you are.
Yeah, I have all of the like players in the server that I played against to thank for that, because like I really did believe in like playing against uh well pretty much everyone, right? So, against higher rated players, like you really have to check your defense to at least survive before even considering like can you top them out. And then against players of your rating or a little bit lower, uh, is your offense strong enough? Because you can probably defend against them well enough, but can you like send enough garbage so that you can actually close it out?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, defense becomes so much more important as you're going up the ladder here. What happened here at the end?
That one I definitely I was just not reacting to things that could have saved me or at least like bought me some more time towards the end.
Gotcha. I think it's a
That's what
little
killed
bit
me.
more of that panic coming in at the end there too.
Yeah, like for example, I neglected the 6 at the bottom
I probably didn't even
with
see
the
that
yellows
myself
attacking.
immediately. Ah, okay, I see it. Yeah, I mean, pretty understandable in that regards. But I guess it's like kind of leading to the panic there at the bottom too. I think you were, yeah, if you see one clear here too, which once again it's probably just
You missed
panic
out on the
sitting in,
5.
you could well, I don't mind doing the green, the 3 green here, but then just slow it down a little bit too, because you can like connect to green, take like the few, like the half second to try to analyze your board and see what you can do next, and then push the yellows as they're falling down afterward instead of rushing them together, because it's just giving you a
Yeah,
little bit less time to think.
that's true.
Because at this point,
Another thing that,
especially by the way they were placed on top of one another, it kind of led to an ugly board. And you had the reds there, but I think you knew the reds were there, but you were thinking, all right, what do I do after the reds clear?
exactly, that was it. Yeah, it was like, and I moved the yellows like literally moments too late when I saw a way to kind of maneuver the light blues to then bring the reds, the top red down one row. And all I had to do was not move the yellows, but I had moved it like too late. Because
Yeah.
if the light blue moved down one row, then I could have done that sequence to fix things.
Yeah, it's tough. I think it's maybe one of the things that, because it sucks doing something specifically like this because it might lead to more deaths while you're trying to find a sweet spot, but like trying to slow down these clears in panic situations, because I think you obviously you do a good job at finding clears to buy yourself time, but maybe when you're getting into these situations that aren't too straightforward, try to slow down just a little bit so you have these clears, but like take your time getting one after the other, because like as you mentioned, if the yellow clears didn't happen, then you already have the blues that you can just go over to the right.
Yeah.
But panic, it's hard to teach someone how to like avoid panic situations, because I don't think it's like straightforward, and it's kind of different for most people, so you kind of got to like feel it out. But I feel like you can point out things like that a little bit, and then when you practice it a little bit, you kind of get into the zone where it feels fine. Because I still suffer a lot from those panic situations,
Mm.
and when I'm truly in the zone, my brain's it feels like I'm always finding clears, and I'm living for a very long time. Like I don't know what's the longest match you've had on level 10, but when you get past like the 6 and 7 minute mark, everything just feels so natural. Like you're getting your combo garbage, and you're not panicking immediately. You're playing with a good stack.
Yeah.
And I feel like when you start consistently, I would say even just 3 or 4 minute matches, when those start happening a lot more, that's when you just generally get a good feel for those kind of things.
I think my record was 5 minutes against Poke.
Nice. Yeah, 5 minutes, that's pretty dang good, especially against someone like Pokey, who's going to be topping you out like the entire match. So it's
Yeah.
not easy to survive. I will say this, I'm sure you know this, I know this too, and I still do this, but just for anyone out there, slides are fun, but if it's a scary situation, probably the best not to go for
Yep. That was the tunnel vision and panic, all of
Yeah.
that, like
But
all the
I can't,
culmination.
I'd be a hypocrite to say I don't go for these too, because I definitely still
Yeah.
go for these all the time. And luckily, in your case, if you notice, you still do have the time, because you had all this stop time still build up from your 3 chain there at the top, as you can see by the purple bar. It's totally
Right.
fine. But just, I guess, in general, for anyone who watches this later, slides, they can be your best friend, but they can also just cost you the game as well.
It's happened to me.
All right, so wait, what
So
happened
this one,
here?
like right the end of the game, I missed a 2 chain at the bottom right, since again I was so focused on taking down the left like tower. Like all I had to do was just move the dark blue over, and then that's a free 2 chain, and I
Hmm.
completely missed it.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, a little bit too focused on getting stuff at the top here too. I think it was very unfortunate here too, because you didn't have a chain lined up here for the next garbage block, so you have like literally 0 time queued up here too, and maybe that threw you off, because after you do this 5 combo, you're probably thinking, all right, even though I missed that, I probably had the time to downstack. But as you can see, 5 combo stop time is very, very deceiving, as you're like losing so much of the chunk already as that purple's falling down, and it didn't even
Yeah.
give you like any time to try to do a drop there. That's something I like to point out to people too, is that chains and combos give you significantly different stop time at the left there. Chains will generally give you a lot more. So if you're looking to just buy yourself more time in general to try to survive, probably just opt to do more chains touching the garbage. That way, if a clear or a mishap happens like this at the bottom, usually you have a little bit more time. Because I think even the difference between that 5 combo stop time and 2 chain stop time probably would have give you just enough time to maybe react and try to get these purples down here, and then you'd probably done the dark blues, and then maybe work to get these yellows or something at the left here.
Yeah.
That's like a really delicate one too, though, because it also depends on what's going on in your stack. Because I mean, easier said than done to do a 2 chain to buy yourself more time, because sometimes you just can't react that quickly. Like the situation we had in an earlier match where the reaction for 2 lines that was clearing was like almost impossible. So
Yeah.
it sounds like I'm kind of giving contradicting advice, but it's really like, it depends on the situation you're in, and I think it's good to look for doing chains to buy yourself time, but then also doing individual clears instead of doing chains. It's weird to like kind of say that.
Yeah, but I totally get it, right? Because it's the situation that really dictates the utility or level of utility of each option.
Once again, nice rearrangement of these second tier panels. I love that you got a pretty good habit for that, because sometimes it won't do absolutely nothing for you, but in the chance that something does just fall into place pretty well for you, like the more you can have clustered colors together to like try to find you an out is just so good. And I'm
Yeah.
glad you got the habit for that right now. Good awareness there. I really like the patience there too, because I think it was really easy to see this red up here and
Mhm.
put that into a chain instead of waiting to do a 4 combo to clear the garbage block.
It's funny when I saw that formation specifically, I was actually thinking of a transition clear, but because the garbage, it was only one line to clear, I couldn't react to it fast enough, so I had to adapt, and the adaptation manifested in making like a little bit of a finessing kind of movement to let that 4 combo happen.
Sometimes I guess it just works out that way.
Yeah.
Big chain here. I approve. The people who tell you the big chains sometimes aren't the best, they may be right. They were probably right in this case, but
But the thing is, like you said, right? Like I made that tension on purpose because I was like trying to use my peripheral vision to see if there was anything that could be done while buying myself more and more stop time.
mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, maybe I blanked out or I just wasn't fast enough. In this case, with combo garbage being what combo storms being what combo storms are, I just fizzled out.
Mm-hmm. This was just a really rough situation, because I'll still approve this at the end of the day, because you were struggling on sending garbage. As you can see, your GPM is hovering around 16. And for
Yeah.
people who are watching this, typically to keep your opponent topped off at this level, you want to be at least 20, most likely in that 22, 23 range. I feel like it's a really sweet spot. So doing this big chain is just going to like reset the tempo and try to send a lot to your opponent. The only bad thing is, like I mentioned before, doing big chains like this can leave this middle vulnerable stack. And I mean, the only thing I can offer as an advice here is you go immediately to the down stacking here when you have this yellow that's immediately here as well, which could have bought you maybe a little bit of time here. You can put the reds off to the side there and try to go for red clears to touch the garbage. But it's a really tough spot, because when you... Oh, I should have done it from this angle. Let me do it at the bottom of the chain so I'm not like spewing out something random. Okay, the yellows are still present here. So something like this, a better way to approach it if you get in a situation like this, because the yellows will at least stop the garbage for a little bit. I like down stacking this red above this green, down stacking this red also above that one to right here. It's going to set this one up. Then this yellow will get rid of these 3 at the bottom. You've already moved the reds here. All you got to worry about is this right stack now. So utilizing a clear to help you so you don't have to, if you do the down stacking instead, especially against someone like Decrates, all of a sudden no shake time, really hard to do so. Whereas
Hmm.
you do this clear at the top here, it's doing half of the work for down stacking for you, and it's going to give you some time. Instead of putting those dark blues down, you can focus on setting up a clear with those reds instead. So yeah, just an idea of doing a clear if it's present there. If it's not, it might make it a little bit
Right.
more complicated. Clear there,
Right.
set something up, and down stack.
Yeah.
It's really, I feel like that's the case with this game a lot too, and I highly recommend watching if you are trying to get better at the game, I should say. Some people are just, content with where they're at, which is totally fine. If you want to get better, look at a bunch of people's games and the way they play. You'll learn like some patterns and stuff that you've never seen before that look very, very doable for you, and then you practice it and implement it in your game, and it can go such a long way.
Yeah, there's a lot of matches that I've been spectating, and like uh, a lot of them were running like straight up factory setups, and I hadn't seen such a deliberately like meticulous garbage spread, and there's like way more threes than there were twos almost,
Hmm.
and they were very like really quick in finding them and executing them, and it didn't seem to really hinder their offensive attacking pace at all, and they were still able to defend effectively. I mean, yes, like they're interlacing combo garbage in between, but I guess also therein lies like the beauty in that, like in how well how perfected that strategy is in their execution.
Hmm. I'll have to do some like just in general analysis in the future because I think it would just help me as well. But I mean, the obvious one to point out for everyone is look at Decibel's gameplay, and obviously he's kind of got everything, so it's hard to compare yourself to him. Unfortunate miss swap. We don't need to analyze that.
Yeah, yeah.
but
That was my comment there. Miss swap absolutely could have lived that. That was literally the comment.
happens to everyone. It's unfortunate to see it. But yeah, Decibel, he's just it, even if it's hard to do exactly what he does because he's a fast player. He's like not the best at one thing I want to say, but he's so good at every aspect, which is why he's been the best player in the game right now. But
Right.
you can watch him and just see how efficient and smart he is on his panels because it's like his APM doesn't go up because he's freakishly fast. It's because he's always making moves to like set up his board, which is why he's constantly finding fives and sixes and doing 8 and 9 combos as well. And if he
Yeah.
notices someone's dealing with his combo storm pretty well, he can just like that switch it up and start putting in some changes as well to shake up the gameplay.
It was really interesting because like shortly after joining the server, I just watched so many of those expert tournament VODs and always seeing Decibels play, but it really there were some aspects of the play that never really clicked until later as I got more experience on 10. And then I was able to better appreciate what was happening and kind of see the purpose behind the movement. It was no longer like just like frenetic and you're seeing just such uh, intricate clears, but it was very calculated, and it has like a very strong balance of that offense and defense at such a high level where it just overwhelms so many people.
It's pretty ridiculous as someone who has played him quite a lot this year, and most of the time like I can I can say I had the 5-4 set with him, which was a complete total fluke because he was playing off that day. Most of the time it's just 5-0 5-0s, and those are even like games that go 5 minutes plus all the time. He's just such a different beast, and if you're looking to get better, look at his gameplay and model some things after him because it's certainly attainable. Like he has all the skills to do good, but it takes a little bit of practice and you can get there.
Right.
I think this is like just something a little bit I'll point out here too. I think this is probably the big thing for you going forward is the rushing of a second clear here, because I think you do notice this right here, which would be really cool if you hit this and it linked into another chain. But I think in
Yeah.
general it is buying you more time, but no need to rush this. You can go for it if you're going for that chain, which you probably were, I'm guessing.
I think I was going for like to follow up with a cross because it would follow into a 3 chain with a 5, but I think
Oh,
I
so you
misswapped
want to.
there.
Okay. Regardless, I think even if you were trying to do that, just slowing down that clear in general to making sure you got it right, or just like focus on this clear alone right here and kind of neglect these blues, because if you're focusing on this and then your mind goes to, all right, what can chain in after this, and then you see the blues already, like it probably would have led to the same thing here. But maybe you don't even go for the cross here too, and you notice the greens can line up into a chain afterward too. And I think just
Mm,
taking it one segment at a time is often a pretty good idea, so you don't rush these clears. In this case,
okay.
where we'll assume this is a miss swap,
Yeah.
it makes the right of your board, you don't know what's going to happen, because it's really hard to read where these things are falling in place. Like in hindsight, you see the greens here are one swap away from being a chain, but I'm not going to notice that. I think a majority of people are not going to notice that immediately, because there's
Mhm.
just so much shit that's happening over here. Pardon my language, but it
But it's true.
is, yes.
So much going on.
So it's hard, and I think that eventually you lead you to a situation here, and if there's a block setup like this, I'm kind of in the same boat where I might freeze and not know what to do. You can line up the purples, and it's like
Yeah,
a 3 chain
I
that's set
missed
up
it.
here, but it's like I wouldn't blame you at all for panicking there, because it's like,
Yeah, I was just staring at the sparkly star, and it was like I completely neglected that. Oh well, I could have chained into the purples, but
mhm.
yeah,
um, yeah, we'll keep this playing. I mean, I've got a pretty good feel, I think, of where your gameplay's at right now. And was there anything specific that you wanted to hop here right now? Because I think I pretty much got a good grasp on it. I'm happy to look at it a couple more minutes, but I think I got what I need here.
I guess if you want, like, if you want to skip to the very last game, uh, so that would be, yeah, like the very last one, because that's like the long. That happens to be the longest of the set.
Ooh,
Yeah,
cool.
29, 23.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
29.
that's the one.
Let's go
But
back.
all because out of nowhere, after having like maybe like minute games leading up to that point, this one was like 3 minutes.
I'll have to like watch this on my own time too in the background or something, because you being up 29-23 in Dekratis is no easy feat. This is someone who's beaten me plenty of times in the past as well, so Dekratis has a very high ceiling for his play. But yeah, let's take a look at this last game here and see how it goes.
I missed a 5 there, but uh, because the chain was already there, at least I could follow up with something else.
Yeah, it looks like when you do make miss swaps or just mistakes in general, you have the ideas to do other things, which is quite nice. Also, we got a really big chain coming here. This
Yeah, I didn't
yellow
have anything.
setup's like almost the same that you had on that last game we just looked at.
Yeah,
Deja vu. All right. Oh my goodness. What the heck was that, man? What a save. I'm looking at what could have been different here. This is a really awkward one. I think my play particularly would have just went for the dark blues and make insert to make that chain, and then
oh.
probably hold off on these reds and downstack the green so it clears. But I mean, what you did, if you can make this work, you didn't have too much time, so Oh, were you trying to get a catch here, perhaps?
I don't think so. Not not in this case.
Yeah, this was frame perfect. I'm pretty sure. If you miss this, you die.
Oh.
Yeah, it's looking that way.
If it wasn't for that, that game would not have run 3 minutes. Oh my! I didn't realize that.
Which, you know,
That's
if you have the
huge.
confidence in these things, go for it. I would always probably recommend, always, like, not always, but anything you can do with chains to buy yourself more time. You're very low on panels, so this is a sketchy situation. I don't blame you for not going for it, but probably just getting these dark blues, holding off on the reds, and down stacking the green, because I think you have plenty of time to do that. But
Right. Having
hey,
like claustrophobic situations in general where there's not much free space, that's something that I've definitely been struggling with.
beautiful. Your second tier vision is really good. That's something that's been impressing me this whole set.
Cool.
I love this at the left here. It's 4 2 chains, 2 3 chains, a 9 and a 12.
That's well.
Those are the best games. At the end of the day, I always want to say someone play panel for some fun. It's good to get better, but you know, I've even had in tournament. I think Decibel sent a mystery chain to me once, and it was a good laugh afterward.
Oh, I love that.
But yeah, we're at the point for people who do get in scenarios like this, because this is quite common. There are many ways you can approach like these big chains clearing here. You can obviously throw another big chain here if you're worried that your garbage will get cleared again, or if you think you're good on pace here, try to keep a kind of taller stack. So something I've been opting to do more, maybe even not clearing too many panels on your screen so you can build a bigger side again, because that's like the two differences from Musical and Decorative stack right here. Musical opted to do less clearing here, so in that case his stack was bigger and allowed him for more option, whereas Decorative had a smaller stack here. He sent more garbage in the meantime, but then he has to wait through all this clear time again because he's just got so many garbage blocks on his screen, and it could be scary here in the future. But there's multiple ways you can do it. You can do just like factory chaining off of it. You can look for combos. There's like no correct way to say what to do here. It's kind of what you're feeling at the time.
Yeah.
4 combos. Finds the chain here, and well implemented there. That's exactly what I was talking about here. Let the clears do the work for you getting rid of the pillar, so you can focus on this left side here. And look,
Yeah.
easy blues lined up. Well executed. All right, this is the Decrites pressure that gets scary, man. When he's got you topped off here at the end, but you was that 3 minutes already? I felt like the game just flew by.
Yeah. Like that just near the end of that game, I think I had the intention to make like a 5 or 6 combo, but I somehow made it like work because it just made a regular clear, which bought me more time to like think and plan out my next like maneuver.
Oh, Decrites tried to go for a 6 combo there at the end. Never get too, in general, for people in chat too. Now, try not to get too greedy, especially when you get into these like very, very hard survival phases. It's really easy to accidentally go a little bit too fast and make miss swaps, and I think that's what did happen on Decrites' side here, where he had the 6 combo lined up, but yeah, just did 2 swaps right in a row because he he did a swap before he can move there at the end, and that's what ended it. But I mean, yeah, I good set of matches, good stuff. Like taking Ty to the limit, winning that series off of Decrites, like that's no easy feat whatsoever. But
This was a very interesting set because like Decrites had gotten like the first to 5, then the 10, and then the momentum, like you were saying, it like the way that it shifts is so interesting. Because then midway through, I started to hit my stride, and I was able to get to the first to 20 and the first to 30. It was so strange how that like happened, like the momentum shift. Like maybe for whatever reason, I was just more warmed up, or I was dialed in better. I definitely couldn't explain that, like how that happened or came about.
This game, it's like it's really momentum based. When you get into a good rhythm, it just feels like you're always seeing things. And then 1 second when you panic or you get caught off by a quick death, it could like ruin your mental a little bit, and then it just starts pouring more and more on you. I've definitely had sets even in tournament where I've lost like 3 games in a row by like 20 or 30 seconds, and it just does not feel good. It's really hard to dig yourself back after that. But if you're playing pretty well, or you sometimes you just don't let it affect you. I think Mato's got a really good mindset for that in tournaments, as someone who's reverse swept me twice in bracket. But yeah, mental's a pretty big thing, which I can't judge too much based off of your tournament performances since it's been very early, and I think I have only gotten to actually watch you during one tournament since I participated in the other two. But I gotta say, well, I'll ask you first. I mean, how did you feel overall? Do you what am I trying to say here? Do you think you've been improving a lot recently? Do you think you're at a wall right now, or were you just looking for additional resources? I think this third one is probably you looking for additional resources because you're just trying to improve so much right now.
I'm gonna turn to my list of things that I'm working on. Let me see. I had a list. Let's see. Okay, so just going down. Uh, on occasion, I'm still finding myself like digging out the center for my opener, but the problem with that is I'm not doing anything, or I'm a little lazy or slow to deal with the aftermath of the two powers. So, especially because even though I have the intention now to play around with separating my opener into two waves, which would be like send some of it, raise, send the rest of it. I'm going like full greed and then down stacking a lot to sometimes like 3 to 5 rows and not giving me the chance to raise despite having the full intention to do so afterward. Because by the time I'm done, I'm like there's several rows of garbage at that level like near topping me out, so I have to stick it out. And if it's large chain garbage, it slows my attacking pace down considerably. Also, like, still trying to work on flexibility in general, so I'm not getting to like tunnel vision with one option and start to drop in execution while neglecting other potentially better options. uh, I think I'm still trying, like, especially this happens at a time where I'm starting to move a bit faster. Like I was saying before, I was like in like the mid to high 300s, and only recently have I been seeing myself moving at like the low 400s. I'm now falling into like situations where I'm not quite sure what the movement constraints are when I'm like playing panel, because sometimes I might not be fast enough to complete a maneuver, or I'm choosing a solved route that takes too long given the amount of time, like pre-stop time or stop time that I might have built up. So like trying to figure out what is my kit, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's still times where I'm not reacting quick enough, and the big one is I'm lacking in endurance. Yes, like my record was 5 minutes against Poke, but uh, so far my average match length, maybe like or longer game, if I can get past the minute death, is usually like a minute and a half, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and I'm definitely looking to go past that while maintaining a very high attacking pace, like high GPM. And I realize that there's just so many things that I have to be on and proficient in, like, and very consistent in order to do that. And I don't know if there's anything beyond that. Also, like trying to play around with more like factory setups in general, so that I can just make things that much harder for my opponents, rather than giving like easier to analyze and combat uh, garbage patterns. Because like combo storms, it's just one clear. Chain garbage, like if you know what you're doing, it takes a while to get through it, but you live forever at that
Mm-hmm.
level. So yeah, like trying to like interlace those combos within in between three chains is what I'm also trying to work on. And I've been trying to do that in like the one player versus self, for example, and see if I can really control that attacking pace and still keep it high.
Nice. Okay. Do you feel like since your time being here, you've gradually just always noticed improvements, or have you hit any walls? Have you as you've been trying to get better?
I think uh, one thing that like one major wall for me was figuring out how to deal with like chaotic board situations in general, where things were all moving like at once, like, and I couldn't, and I was just so stunned by everything, and I couldn't really plan things out, or much less like move to plan, like to execute. But I think by looking somewhat locally and somewhat globally at times for like my full board, I was able to find a rhythm that works best for me, at least for now, to navigate a board and then find my topmost clear for garbage to keep the game going, rather than feeling like after I'm full, like my board is full with fresh panels, I might start thinking, oh, I might die. That's not happening as much anymore. It does happen when I feel like I wasn't able to execute something, and now I'm like scrambling to find another option. So even then, it's like it's kind of a mixed bag. Uh, the other wall that I had was like dealing with just basic defense and not topping my opponent up, like because for whatever reason, like maybe I was so focused on combos because I was locked into that mindset where like too much change, like setting too many chains may not necessarily be good. So once I got past that, I started having longer. I was actually topping up, and I was like able to close them out.
Gotcha. Yeah,
I was really happy with this expert tournament, like the November tournament, because I was really
Oh,
going
did you
in.
play in that, by the way?
I did. I
Oh,
was so
crap.
scared. Like I was expecting like 5-0 against most of them, but I was really happy in that each game I at least took 2 games off of each player in my group.
Okay.
I was really happy about that.
Yeah, I was out of town on that. It was the first one I missed since like March or something. So I like took a quick glance, but I totally forgot everything that happened there. But yeah, you went 2-4, so you beat one of the people above you. What was your good win here? I'm trying to figure that out. Three games off of Dreams Hard, four off of Poke, two off of Tie, a win off of Fudu, a loss to Ultra Fighter, and you beat Mara. Damn. That's a good run, honestly. Yeah, well deserved there.
Thank you. It's funny you were talking about the whole reverse sweep thing. Dream Shard was the first opponent that I played, and I was up 3-0, and then I got swept.
Oh no.
Reverse swap, reverse swap.
Yeah, that happens. It sucks too. Those are probably the worst feelings too. Like I've been eliminated twice in tournaments. My very last game being reverse swept, and I'm like, ugh. It sucks, but I mean, honestly, that's some good progress there. The only thing the reason why I mention if you've been seeing success or not, because it looks like you've just been increasing at a really good pace. I just want to preemptively say this, and if you ever do, like, you keep improving, but it seems like your results are slowing down, or maybe even playing worse some days. Just like that'll happen to everyone from time to time, and if you're trying new stuff and it seems like it's not working, don't fret too much because it might take time to see improvements when you are implementing a new skill. And otherwise, I mean, this is just in general for anything you do. Feel free to take a break and come back because that always works wonders.
Hmm.
But that's like a more preemptive thing because I don't think you're dealing with burnout and you seem really eager to learn, which is really cool. And I always like to tell people don't try to learn too much at the beginning right now, but it seems like for someone like you, since you can handle it, I don't think that's too big of an issue. Like just preventing burnout's just one thing, and I think that can be really big in a game like this. But in terms of the actual gameplay, I mean the one thing I'll point out, which is something that we said most of the time, is it looks like the biggest hindrance to your game is just the panic situations at the end, and it's like multiple different things that you could work on to do that. But I think the biggest thing is like just slowing down a little bit and not trying to force too many clears, because if you can stack those clears a little bit spaced apart one after another, it might give your brain a little bit more time to process, because you obviously you have the eye to do 5 and 6 combos pretty easily. You're good at finding chains easily on level 10. You're good with your vision finding second tier clears and setting up clears to get things like that. So you have so many of the fundamentals lined up right now. And I think it's just taking that practice a little bit more and preventing those deaths here and there because you have good defense too, you have good offense. And if you can figure out how to prevent just those scary situations at the end that are taking you out, I think you'll see your like average times going from a minute to 2 minutes and going all the way up to like 3 to 4 minutes. Because I definitely think you have the skill to keep climbing in the leaderboard.
Awesome.
But yeah, other than that, I think that's pretty much all I got here. Also, hi to Newsy in chat who joined us too. I should say sorry, Newsy. I've been a little bit slow on uploading you and James's video, and I should have that up hopefully by tomorrow. Apologies for not getting that up on YouTube in a timely manner. But yeah, I mean, as far as this set, I think that's the big things here. Was there anything else in your mind that you wanted to talk about before we head off?
Um, I think you've covered everything like that, or like you've definitely put that into the idea of like just trying to dial things back to get a more comfortable pace. And I think a small like corollary from that is being able to by slowing things down. I'm starting to think it might give me that edge endurance wise. So like if what I'm doing now, where it's like it's almost like I'm creating my own, but I can at least like read it. I don't know like what if there is. I don't know like what my limits are now. So if I'm dialing it back preemptively, perhaps I might be able to kind of not drain myself so early so that it kind of lessens the load, like
Mm-hmm.
you were saying, like so I don't have to think about it as much. And in the same way, like to take it further, like I can stay in that like thinking like or an executing mindset longer, so that way I don't fizzle out and run out of energy or endurance so early. Because
Mm-hmm.
there often are times like where the games end after being so going so long. Uh, there are it's usually to stuff that I might not have missed 30 seconds in or a minute in or 2 minutes in, but all of a sudden past like 3 minutes or 4 minutes, like why did I miss that? And yeah, I realized that could be a possible answer, just
Mm-hmm.
like not being ready or like running out of energy.
Yeah, as Newsy says in chat here, you get really academic about panel, and I think that's probably the best thing that the best quality that could be for you for learning this game. And I am not worried at all to see how you progress here because I think you have such a good self-analysis of your gameplay, and you've been taking like such a good approach. Like even before this, I knew you were getting good and like learning a bunch of stuff, but now this puts into perspective just like all the work that you've been putting in and uh looking up strategies and looking at other people's gameplay just to get better. So I think that's something that's going to be really positive for you looking forward. And with all your knowledge in this game, I might have to bully you into doing some commentary in the future too, because I think that'd be a lot of fun.
I don't know. I don't know how I'm good at confidence. It means a lot. Uh, but and just a quick shout out to Watch Gang because like like that's a lot of the learning. Like I really do consider those spectating sessions almost like study sessions for myself.
Is Watch Gang the like the VCs you guys have going all the time?
No, it's like whenever like it's usually like myself, Chaos, Newsy, sometimes Cornflakes. Uh, who else did I miss? Like, there's so many people that would just like spectate matches, and I love like just
Ah,
seeing
okay.
that all of us are watching some high level panel action. It's so fun.
I'll have to hop in like obviously watch some more too, but I do notice a lot of voice calls go on some more. I've been a little bit demotivated from panel pretty recently, but I think I'll get back into it again. But hanging out with a lot of you guys is always pretty fun. But yeah, I gotta say overall, uh, yeah, that's the one thing I'd have to point. But honestly, It looks like keep doing what you're doing. That's the thing I can stress the most because you're doing things right. You're learning. You're getting better here, and already showing tremendous results against like some top players that frequent the expert tournaments. Hopefully, I'm sure you're a busy person at the same time, but keep participating in tournaments too, because that experience will only help you going so far too. And I mean, yeah, this has been a really fun session. I'm glad you reached out to me, and once again, apologies for it being delayed so much, but I'm glad it turned out as well as it did today.
Yeah, thank you for reading the set, Forky. I really enjoy. I definitely look forward to it, and no worries the delay. Um, yeah, it was very it was awesome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, for sure. Well, yeah, best of luck going forward, whether it be casual ranked games or tournament play. I'm gonna be keeping an eye on you, cheering you on, and hopefully, if you're still joining intermediate tournaments like this month or I guess what next weekend, I bet there's a really good chance that you just take it all.
Yeah, that was the thing. Like with scheduling, for my own commitments. Usually, like the tournaments I'm not able to make, so I made it a point if there's ever a chance I'm able to make it. Like this past November's intermediate, when I saw that I was able to make it, I was like, okay, I'm joining this one immediately without hesitation. Because normally I don't get that chance, and it's like one less chance for me to try to work on like tournament nerves and like tournament play in general. So yeah, I take that very seriously. It's like I really wanted every opportunity to be able to compete, and it was in the cards for me that month. I was really happy about that.
For sure. And hopefully, I will say, just as a side thing, I'm hopefully getting out a document in the next week or so that's just going to be a little tournament survey. And I'd keep an eye on that because that's just going to ask, like, it's probably going to have some various time things in it too. It's going to involve some rule sets and things like that. But if it's something like if you're taking more interest in tournaments and want to join more, keep an eye out for that. And hopefully, that'll allow you to participate in more in the future.
Oh, that'd be great.
But yeah, once again, I think that's it for me. Thanks again, musical. It was a blast going over the set with you
Likewise.
and seeing everything. I'm actually a little bit inspired, and hopefully, I can improve my gameplay a little
Hey,
bit from this too. I mean, I always have something to learn from everyone who plays this game.
awesome. Thank you, Forky.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks a lot, man. I'll see you soon. Hopefully, play some games with you as well. I think it's been a while, but yeah, take care and yeah, have a good weekend, man.
You too. Take care.
All right, guys, that was the panel review set with Musical. I hope you guys enjoyed it because that was a lot of fun. Like uh seeing how analytical he was, and when I asked him questions at the beginning, I don't give a lot of prep to people, as Newsy and Fudu can tell you. I kind of just are like, all right, let's jump into this and do it. Musical was super prepared. He had a lot of what he wanted to talk about, and it was very nice just seeing that, being able to focus on the gameplay as well and talk about specific things. So I hope I was able to help him a little bit. I hope I was able to point out some stuff for you guys in chat too, because I always tried to make sure like we were helping musical, but it's also to help people who end up watching this later on too.